Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is on every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Watch live on YouTube and make sure to subscribe. Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is presented by Raymond Felton State Farm.
Have you compared insurance rates lately? Are you satisfied with your current insurance provider? If not, look no further than Ray Felton State Farm, a proud sponsor of Sports on Tap. For a free quote, call his office at 234-284-2996 or visit him online at rayfelton.com.
Whether you're hosting a corporate event, wedding, conference, concert, or any other special gathering, our comprehensive range of services will exceed your expectations and elevate your event to new heights. RRT Productions. We shoot, we edit, you win. Visit our website at www.rrt-productions.com.
We've got the experience, the passion, and the beach to make your event a smash hit. Whether it's a romantic wedding, a lively sports venue, or a rocking high school dance, Troutland Entertainment has you covered. Contact them at 330-414-4261 or email them at troutlandent@gmail.com. That's troutlandent@gmail.com. Elevate your brand with Mako Custom Printing. Mako Custom Printing specializes in creating high-quality spiritware, corporate apparel, and promotional products that make your brand stand out. Whether you need custom printing, graphic design, or an online store for your school or business, we've got you covered. Make a statement with Mako Custom Printing. Visit us at mako.com to start your custom printing journey today. That's MEHCO.com. Welcome, everybody, to Sports on Tap. This is the high school football recap show brought to you by Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance, located in beautiful Hudson, Ohio. The Hudson Explorers were in the playoffs. They played this week amongst many other teams that we were about to go over here in the regional quarterfinal matchups. This is the regional quarterfinal show of the high school football season. My name is Ed Dick, alongside Rob Troutman, Sean Duffy, Noah Jacobson, and Josh Jeffy. We have a lot to get to. We have 6 regions worth of games to cover. We have 4 games of the week that we got to get through. And also, we're going to be joined later by Avon quarterback Nolan Good and Nordonia quarterback Ben Chesser. So we're looking to be joined by those two tremendous student athletes a little bit later here in the show. Both of those representing Division II, Avon in Division II Region 6 and Nordonia in Division II Region 5. All right, so as we normally have been doing, make sure, again, those of you who are watching this, you're watching us live on our YouTube channel, Sports on Tap. Make sure you like and subscribe. Get the notifications when we are about to come on to the air. We were a little bit late today, but we always want to make sure we give you the best product, and we had to make a few technical adjustments, but we're there now. Make sure you follow us on Twitter /X at SOT Podcasts. Every time we have games out there, all of the updates are going to go on our X handle at SOT Podcasts. You can also listen to us on Spotify at Sports on Tap. Catch us on Threads at SOT_podcasts. Our website is sportsontappodcast.com. We're on Facebook at Sports on Tap. Make sure you like us there. And of course, any emails, questions, suggestions, or pronunciation requests, whatever the case is, send those to us at sportsontappodcast@gmail.com. All right, lots to get to here. We mostly focus on the Greater Cleveland Conference, the Suburban League, the Southwestern Conference, and the Cleveland West Conference. And I'm going to level with you. One of the conferences, unfortunately, got wiped out this weekend. Which one is it? You'll find out here shortly as we get through the recaps here. Sean, as he always has, he has done a tremendous job with the PowerPoints. So he's going to get his up, and we're going to start with Division 1, Region 1. And we had a little bit of influence here from the Greater Cleveland Conference and the Southwestern Conference here. In the 2 non-conference games that didn't involve us, as you can see, the number 7 seed, the St. Edward Eagles, the reigning defending Division 1 state champions, they get a 24-7 victory over the number 2 seed Toledo Whitmer. If you want to call it an upset because of seeds, fine. Well, I think we all know that anytime St. Edwards plays and they win, definitely not an upset. So I'm not particularly surprised about that one. And in the 4-5 matchup, this game was fantastic. This is a game that was aired live on Spectrum 1 for those of you who have it. Canton McKinley, the number 5 seed, they just get by the number 4 seed Massillon Jackson, avenging a loss and then popping him into a tie for the Federal Championship, 35-32. All right, let's start with the first game here, and we got 2 Greater Cleveland Conference games. This was a rematch of the Greater Cleveland Conference Championship game in Week 9. Noah Jacobson's got this one. Menor, the number 1 seed, versus Strongsville, the number 8 seed.
All right, well, thank you, Ed. And yeah, this was the Greater Cleveland Conference rematch back in Week 9, in which Menor won against Strongsville. But this game was no different, as Menor took it to Strongsville in a 33-0 shutout performance and just completely dominated Strongsville once again. Menor running backs Jackson Furley had 153 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Spencer Berninger had 8 tackles. He had a sack, 2 tackles for loss, as the Cardinals just allowed 37 yards rushing and 113 yards total for the Strongsville offense. That just shows why the Menor defense was able to show Strongsville a type of performance like they did earlier in the season, and now they're doing it to them in the playoffs. Quarterback Scotty Fox had 2 passing touchdowns in this one. Wide receiver Justin Hodge had a punt return touchdown in this one. Not a receiving, but a punt return touchdown in this one. And then running back Dominic Burns also had a rushing touchdown in this game. As Menor looking at 33-0 win to beat Strongsville for the second time this year in the regional quarterfinals. And for Strongsville, what a great year this was for Coach Trustin. I mean, he comes in taking over a program after back-to-back 3-8 seasons, and he's just turned the culture. He has raised the standard for the Strongsville Mustangs program moving forward. And for the Menor Cardinals, they get a chance to play in a big type of game against the Federal League team in Cam McKinney. I can't wait for this one, as we will be breaking that down coming up soon.
Hey, great job, Noah. As we've seen, Menor is this they stepped it up to another level here in the playoffs. Two rematches they've had so far between St. Ignatius and Strongsville, and in both matchups, they've outpaced the other team. They did more damage the second time they played with them than they did the first time they played them. What do you attribute that to, Noah?
I think I really attribute the defense for really coming up to play against Strongsville. I mean, like I said, they allowed 37 yards rushing and 113 yards total. That just shows why Menor's defense was able to show and watch the film on how Strongsville did earlier in the season against that defense. And that just shows why Menor's defense was able to shut out the Strongsville offense in that quarterfinal playoff game.
That's a good point, Noah. When you talk about Menor, the first thing you don't think of is defense. You think of offense, you think of quarterbacks, dominant receivers. They do have a pretty steady line of dominant defensive players, specifically defensive ends. They've had some real studs over the years, and Tom Strobel, Mitch Berger. These are just Strobel went to Michigan. Those are just a few guys over the last few years. So yeah, you're exactly right. No, I'm with you. The defense has been unstoppable. By that I mean they have not let up anything. In the first two playoff games, McKinley's going to bring a different challenge to them for sure. But Menor is playing exactly where they're playing exactly where Coach Gray wants them right now. They're playing their best ball at the best time right now. There's no doubt about that. All right, Rob, the Berea Mid-Park Titans got on the road to take on Perrysburg, an 11-3 matchup. Talk about this game.
Yeah, in this game, Perrysburg started pretty quick, although in the first quarter it was tied at 0 in this game, but then the Yellow Jackets, they would score 22 unanswered, and at halftime it was 22-0 in this game. But in the third quarter, the Titans finally broke through as Austin Clay, the wide receiver, caught a 2-yard pass from quarterback Danny Bowser. After the third quarter, it was Perrysburg leading 22-7. So the Titans defense really held serve here in the second half. Then the Yellow Jackets, they did get a field goal first in the fourth quarter. Berea Mid-Park got a turnover as it was Zahersky recovering a fumble. And the Titans, they did take advantage as wide receiver again, Austin Clay, again would catch a 9-yard touchdown pass from quarterback Danny Bowser. The score was 25-14 at this point. The Titans, they did try an onside kick, and they did recover it. So there was still a shot for them in the fourth quarter, but they couldn't do really anything with it from there as the Titans fall in this one 25-14. Really not a bad season for Berea Mid-Park. I know their record ended at 4-8 in this game, but a lot of close games they just couldn't close out or get over the hump during the season. And getting a win against a really good Lorraine team in round one of the playoffs, I thought was a really good accomplishment for them. They continue to get better. They just got to really finish games. I mean, they were close in some games. I thought that they could have won. Their offense, struggled a little bit this year, but then they started to get it going, and their defense, I thought, played pretty well this season. So, some things to learn from this year, but I'm sure Coach Unick probably wasn't happy with the 4-8 record, but they did play well, I thought, this season.
Rob, I agree with you. They had a couple tough losses, as you mentioned. I mean, Avon Lake pretty much at the last minutes.
Nordonia was one of the first few games, and Nordonia's a really good team. They had that one. They thought they had it at least, and Nordonia's a good team, so that was early on.
Oh, absolutely. And then you're looking at that. I mean, looking at how the region stacked up too. I mean, we kind of talked about it even before they played the game against Lorraine. That was a very winnable game for Berea Mid-Park, and they certainly made that come true. And they gave Perrysburg all they can handle, which is what you would expect from a Coach Unick team. So I agree with you. I think it's overall record wise, certainly not where Berea Mid-Park wants to be. At the end of the day, though, you get a playoff win on the road in the first round. Um, you obviously want to go a little bit further, but that's you know that you tell they were able to build a little bit of momentum at the end of the year, and we'll see what they can sustain and carry over going into 2025. We'll go over Sean. I'm not sure if you have do you have the game? Do you have the next week afterwards? We'll talk about that. We can talk about that later. So that is Division One, Region One. We'll go over the rest. We'll go over the regional semifinals here a little bit later on in the show. All right, Division Two, Region Five, and we have a natty influence here. In fact, one of our games of the week was in Division Two, Region Five, and it was the number 3 seed, the Nordonia Knights, hosted the Green Bulldogs here, and also there's also Hudson also took on Walsh Jesuits. We had 2 natty games. The game of the week that Josh was at was Nordonia and Green. So let's get to those now. Josh, you want to handle everything with Division 2, Region 5 here?
Sure. We'll start off with the top seed, Walsh Jesuit Warriors. They hosted Hudson in the first of 2 natty games here in Division 2, Region 5. And unfortunately for Hudson, Walsh came out running the ball, and they didn't stop running the ball. In fact, it was for Walsh. They had 5 touchdowns in this game, and all 5 of them came on the ground. As a team, Walsh had 54 carries, and they rushed for 310 yards. Some of the lead runners for Walsh were Keller Motton. He had 86 yards and 2 scores. Lucas Weaver had 119 yards and 2 scores. And then Marty Tobin added 86 yards as well with 1 score. Like I said, Hudson fought hard in this game, though. They were led by Nathan Judy, 15 of 27 for 251 yards with a touchdown and an interception. 106 of those yards went to Louis Castellarin. Nathaniel Coates had 2 short touchdown runs for the Explorers, and Reno Ferry 12 carries for 66 yards. But as everyone's been seeing all year, they've shown Walsh is one of the best teams, regardless of division, in the state of Ohio. They continued on their run to an undefeated season with this big 35-21 victory over Hudson. Before we get to the game of the week that I was at, we'll just quickly go over the other 2 games in this region. Archbishop Hoban, they fought hard and came away with a 21-14 victory over the 7-seeded Uniontown Lake. Tough game for Hoban. I think this was a bit of a surprise for a lot of people. Hoban's been so dominant over the past few years, so I think a lot of people are just expecting them to roll through, but not the case. I mean, they did get the victory only by a touchdown in this game. And then number 4 seed Austintown Fitch with a big 42-21 victory over Warren Harding. They were the 5th seed, so Austintown Fitch does move on, and they will actually play Walsh Jesuit. But we'll get to that a little bit later. But the SOT featured game of the week in this, for me at least, Division 2, Region 5, was Nordonia at Green. And this was actually a very tight game in the first half. Green came out. They were really led by quarterback Tyson Hunka. He was unstoppable in the first quarter, had over 120 yards passing in the quarter alone. He did have a rushing score, but give credit to Nordonia's defense kind of foreshadowing. After that first quarter, he only had 7 yards passing after that. Nordonia, though, they have done what they've done all year, and actually when you hear a high tempo game, you're thinking 5 wide, they're passing the ball. But for Nordonia, it's a high tempo, no huddle, but they run. In fact, in this game, they had over 400 yards rushing as a team. And to give you some stats, on the ground for the Knights, they were led by Rocco DiLorenzo, who had 132 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kylan Osby had 123 yards rushing. 64 of those came on a long touchdown run in the fourth quarter. Liam Kuntz had 72 yards. Ben Chesser, the quarterback, 36 yards. We'll be talking to him around 8:40 tonight. Looking forward to that. He had 36 yards rushing and 1 score. He added 93 passing yards and a touchdown pass to Brendan Chaddock. But like I said, the first half of this game was pretty tight. Nordonia had a 21-15 lead at the half, but they made some adjustments in the second half, and they virtually dominated Green in that second half. They outscored them 21-3. The defense came out just on fire. It was not to say that the defense wasn't on in the first half, but they came out with a little sense. Talked to Coach Fox after the game, and he was really proud of his defense for really sticking with it. Some plays in the first half, they got beat, but they never wavered for what they were doing. It was almost a man coverage going out there, and they manned up basically, and they came away with a huge 42-17 victory over Green. Nordonia, if they have that running game going, it's the same formula that they've had all year. This is the third game that I covered Nordonia this year. Seen it live. No huddle offense, but they run the ball. So basically, in the second half of the game, teams' defenses are tired. And same thing happened in this game, and they just overpowered Green in this one. Got to give credit to Riley Edgehouse, the field goal, the kicker for Nordonia. He had 2 field goals in this game, one of 36 yards, the other of 30. So Nordonia gets the big win. They move on. We'll be talking about who they will play in. Kind of gave it away a little bit, but we'll spoil it. They're going to go up against Walsh this week. They're going to be heading into Barberton to play that game at a neutral site. Looking forward to it. Should be fun.
Hey, great job on the coverage there, Josh. With Hudson and Walsh, as you mentioned, Walsh I think is just on a whole another level of play right now, and you're right, they are arguably one of the top teams in the state of Ohio, regardless of division. That said, Hudson acquitted themselves pretty well. They went through some ups and downs this year, but they were able to get a playoff win on the road to even get to that point. And there haven't been a whole lot of teams that have been able to stay with Walsh Jesuit. So I think it was obviously a great effort by the Hudson Explorers there.
Yeah, and I agree. And actually, Hudson kind of has the same. They play the same style as Walsh. I think just Walsh did it better with the running game. Reno Fury. We talked to him earlier this year. Nathan Judy can run the ball too. But it's just Walsh was more physical in this game, and in the playoffs that could win you games, obviously. And in this game, Walsh just kind of dominated and played a much better brand of physical ball.
And with Nordonia, as you mentioned, is overpowering Green. I mean, that's a very potent offense that they have. And as you mentioned, you don't see a whole lot of no huddle that run with a running influence. And even if you're just getting a couple yards per carry, especially early in the game, those 2 to 3 yard runs quickly turn into 6 to 8, 10 to 12, and then you're starting to get chunk plays in the second half.
Exactly, and that's the formula for Nordonia that we saw in that game. Going back to that game, Rocco DiLorenzo, he busted a 39, 36 yard touchdown run. Kylan Osby had a 64-yard touchdown run. Just physical. Offensive lines are the name of the game for these two teams. So it'll be fun. And I'll go back, Noah. Thanks for catching me. Nordonia will play Hoban, not Walsh, coming up.
There we go. All right, great job there, Josh. Let's shift over to Division II, Region 6. We had 2 games of the week in this specific region. And then we have a third one as well. We had a third. Sean has Highland and DeFrancis DeSales as well, on top of Avon and Olson Falls, since he was at that game. Rob was at North Ridgeville in Wadsworth. The other game, White House Anthony Wayne, the number 3 seed, they get a 35-14 victory over the Sandusky Blue Streaks, the number 11 seed, 35-14. White House Anthony Wayne advances there. Sean, let's start with you. Highland, the number 2 seed, taking on Toledo St. Francis DeSales.
That's right. Thank you, Ed. And Highland continues to dominate in the playoffs as they get a 49-20 victory to advance to the Division II Region 6 semifinals. And as of last week, same story this week. They were led by junior running back Casey Miser, turning in another stellar performance for the Hornets. 28 carries, 255 yards, 4 touchdowns, all coming on the ground. His season total now swells to 42 touchdowns. He also is currently sitting at 9 touchdowns scored in the playoffs. Highland quarterback Dylan Borla finished the game an efficient 5 of 7 for 97 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also set a new school record with 25 touchdown passes on the year. Those 2 touchdown passes in this game were thrown to Lucas Girding and Evan Faust, each recording a touchdown for the Hornets. Highlands defense put in another stout performance as the outcome was well in hand early on in this game, and they got some backups in to get some playoff experience, which is why we see them, giving up that 20 points. But unfortunately, again, as we get into this part of the season and this part of the playoffs, you're going to be playing better teams. They're not here on accident. So St. Francis de Sales did come out, did their best, but unfortunately, we're talking about a Highland team that is playing it historically well, both on the offensive side of the ball and as well as the defensive side of the ball.
Well, no doubt. I mean, Highland is putting on the level that Highland is on right now is insane. And as you mentioned, 20 points. A little deceiving there. It certainly wasn't on. I'm not gonna lie, my computer might go off here in a minute, but I'll keep going.
That's all right.
Highland, it's on another level, as you've shown, and they're scoring points at a historic clip right now, setting school records, individual school records for touchdown passes, touchdown runs. The Hornet offense is just unstoppable at the moment.
It is, and it was fun to watch when I got the chance to see him at Aurora at the end of the season, and I can't imagine anyone is excited to play Highland at this point. But again, as we get deeper into this region, these teams are the ones that are there every single year. So we're eventually going to run into a situation where Highland's going to have to maybe do something a little out of their norm, or they can continue to follow their script because it's working like gangbusters right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good. Well, Sean, let's roll into your game of the week. You had number 1 Avon taking on number 8 Olmsted Falls in the Southwestern Conference rematch.
Yeah, this game was crazy from the beginning, and I'm talking right from the beginning. Olmsted Falls and Avon are no stranger to one another. They know each other pretty well, given the fact they play in the Southwestern Conference. But this one got off to a pretty bad start if you're Avon, giving up 21 points in the first quarter. And it all started with Owen Singleton and his 66-yard touchdown run on the very first play of the game. He busted it outside, took it 66 yards for a touchdown. Bulldog quarterback Jimmy Rossell would score. Avon would score on the subsequent touchdown, on the subsequent drive of them. This one coming on a trick play, as it was tough for Nolan Good to get going early in this game, but they were able to find success when Matt Maxey threw a 42-yard touchdown pass to Nolan Good to tie up the game. And then this is where we see that Olmsted Falls Bulldog attack. They were able to put on 14 additional points in the first quarter. One of those touchdowns being a run from Jimmy Rossell, the other a throw from Jimmy Rossell to Jaden Byer to give Olmsted Falls a 21-7 lead at the end of the first quarter. And then Avon woke up in the second quarter. And by woke up, I mean they scored 4 touchdowns in the second quarter to take a 35-21 lead at halftime. The first touchdown came on an 18-yard touchdown run by Keontae Smith. The second one, Nolan Good would connect with Matt Maxey again the first time. And then again in that same quarter, one of the first touchdown was for 28 yards. The second touchdown between these two was for 10 yards. So if you're counting along at home, Matt Maxey was responsible for 3 touchdowns in this game. One of those passing, 2 of those receiving, and he passed that touchdown to his quarterback. So Matt Maxey and Nolan Good have essentially the same stat line going into halftime in this game. And it was on from that point as, the Eagles were able to seize control of this game right at the half. In fact, their last touchdown came from Tyler Kaufman with 35 seconds before halftime. The Eagles did get the ball to start the second half, and they were able to score. This time, they were able to put up 17 points in the second half to extend this lead out. Avon running back Cam Wendell did rushed for 2 touchdowns, one for 32 yards, the other for 18 yards. And then they were able to add a 3-point field goal. Not to say anything against the Bulldogs, as Russell would score. I'm sorry, the Bulldogs would score twice in the second half. One came on a touchdown pass from Jimmy Russell to Logan Conley. The other was Owen Singleton scoring his second rushing touchdown of the night. Some stats, again, as I mentioned, and Rob, you can kind of jump on here as well. From Avon, Matt Maxey had a night, 9 receptions, 110 yards receiving, 2 receiving touchdowns. Also has a passing touchdown, one to Nolan Good. Keontae Smith on the ground for the Eagles, 119 yards rushing, 1 touchdown. And Cam Wendell, 88 yards rushing, but 2 touchdowns in the second half, powering Avon to a 52-35 victory over Olmsted Falls. Quarterback Jimmy Russell did have 2 touchdown passes as well as 1 rush touchdown. Wide receivers Jaden Bayer and Logan Conley, each with those 2 receiving touchdowns, and Owen Singleton with 2 rush touchdowns on the night. Avon continuing to kind of figure out how to win. And, it was interesting because they were down 14 points at the end of the first quarter. And I thought, whoa, that's something I wasn't expecting. And, I should have expected it because it happened last year when they played each other in the playoffs. They got out to a 14-point lead and then ended up losing by 10. This time, get out to a 14-point lead, end up losing by 17 points. But, it was a tough effort by, Olmsted Falls. They were, it got chippy as it normally does in the Southwestern Conference game. These teams are very familiar with each other, but in the end, Avon continues to dominate, in the playoffs, and that's exactly what they're used to. They're no stranger to anybody.
Yeah, and great job, Sean, because, I know a lot of people were surprised hearing the score at the game I was at, North Ridgeville and Wadsworth. And, congratulations to wide receiver Matt Maxey. He became Avon's program all-time leader in pass receptions, with his 9 catches. What a year he's had with Nolan Good. And, that team is so deep. When I heard it was 21-7 in that first quarter, I said, that's first off, I was surprised, but at the same time, I knew it was early, and this Avon team is so deep that you just never know, what can happen, especially with Avon and Olmsted Falls. But Olmsted Falls came to play. They played really well early on, and give credit to their run game. I mean, Owen Singleton had 100 yards. I mean, it was mostly Owen Singleton, and it looked like Jimmy Russell. He had the 76 yards and a touchdown rushing, and then he did pass for 85 yards and had 2 touchdowns. But like you said, Avon's passing. Nolan Good, who we'll talk to coming up in the show, he even said in his interview, it wasn't his best game, but he doesn't necessarily need to when he has multiple running backs and he has great receivers. And then all of a sudden you have Matt Maxey throwing the football, and I mean, there's what are they going to throw next at you?
It was interesting, Rob, because when you look at that game and the way it went, Nolan Good did not play particularly well in that first quarter, and then it just seemed to think, okay, we're not going to force it anymore. We're going to take what they were giving us. And those 2 running backs, and even to a certain extent, Nolan Good with his legs, was able to take control of that game in the second quarter. And I mean, within a blink of an eye, it went from a 14-point deficit to a 14-point lead, essentially. And it was my thumbs, damn near froze because I was trying to keep up with everything. But yeah, it got quiet and then it got really loud in the first half. So it was a wave of emotions for the Avon faithful. And again, Olmsted Falls was right in that game, and they were fighting as much as they could. But, this Avon team, they could beat you throwing the ball. They could beat you, running the ball. They could beat you on special teams. They are as well balanced of a team as I've ever seen. And that's of an Avon team. And that's saying something considering the amount of those teams that have come out of there in the recent years. Rob, why don't you tell us what happened in the game that you covered, which is the North Ridgeville hosting Wadsworth in Division II, Region 6.
Yeah, and this was a game that had all kinds of physical play from the beginning, and it was right at the line of scrimmage. Both teams, though, they were ready in this game. First, North Ridgeville, they would score first with a 23-yard field goal from kicker and one of the top defensive players on North Ridgeville, Austin DeShazo. The Rangers, they had a lot of really good drives in this game all night long, but key turnovers really stalled those drives in the red zone as the Grizzlies, they would answer and get a great drive that resulted in a 45-yard draw play to running back Cooper Gray. He found the end zone early in this game, and all of a sudden it was 7-3 Wadsworth. Wadsworth, they would get another really good drive before half. And this one, it seemed like it was a little bit controversial as quarterback Brian Hall connected with Gavin Madigan, the wide receiver, from 2 yards out. And this was a really close call because the ref on the near sideline said he did get 1 foot in. A lot of other, and there weren't just North Ridgeville people there, but there were a lot of others with the TV and radio there that said that he was still bobbling the ball. It's tough to say, but it was a great catch by Madigan to get that ball in, and it was 14-3 at halftime. That was a huge play because after half, North Ridgeville, they would actually get down to the Wadsworth 15-yard line. But again, they had some issues with the quarterback, Cole Miller, trying to hand the ball off to the running backs for North Ridgeville as they fumbled the ball trying to on the transfer over, and it was really a momentum killer in this game because it was fumbled and picked up by Jacob Ernest for Wadsworth, and he took it 85 yards to the house for a touchdown, and all of a sudden it was 21-3 Wadsworth in the third quarter, and you saw the wind kind of get knocked out of the sails of the Rangers, but they wouldn't give up in this game as they would convert a turnover by Wadsworth as running back Zach Barnhart would punch it in from 15 yards out. It was 21-10 at this point. Wadsworth still led. The Rangers, they would recover another fumble deep in Wadsworth territory with 2 minutes left, but they couldn't really get anything going as the Wadsworth defense really clamped down in this game as they advance and win with a 21-10 win. They're going to advance and play Avon. But for North Ridgeville, Zach Barnhart, he finished with 153 yards on 33 carries. Charlie Steinmetz had 69 yards on 14 carries. Cole Miller had 45 yards on 10 carries. Miller did, the quarterback for North Ridgeville, 98 yards. He was 11 of 28. So passing was very tough for North Ridgeville in this game. They did have a lot of success, I thought, running the ball up the middle with Zach Barnhart. But give Wadsworth credit. They were a bend but don't break defense, and they forced some key turnovers. North Ridgeville, if they could have capitalized on probably 2 or 3 of those drives deep in Wadsworth territory, I think we could have looked at a different kind of game here. But give credit to Wadsworth. They get it. Get the job done, especially, talking to Coach Todd after the game. Their offense wasn't unbelievable in this game, but they did just enough to get it done. Their defense stepped up and make plays. They ran the ball with Cooper Gray, and they did just enough to get the job done. So great job by Wadsworth. They had a lot of faithful in this one come all the way to North Ridgeville. It was a playoff atmosphere, and after the game, I know it was tough for some of the North Ridgeville players, but Charlie Steinmetz did come up to me and wanted to thank everyone on the Sports on Tap crew for covering him and the North Ridgeville Rangers. I know he was getting teary-eyed and sad. His season came in impossible. I think he's playing at the next level, but his football playing in high school is over. With all his teammates, and I know it was a tough time, but still came up to me and still said how fun it was to go back and watch the interviews and the games we covered. So he wanted me to thank everyone on the SOT crew for all that we did covering Rangers sport or Rangers football in the past few years here. So that's it from North Ridgeville.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in real quick because Wadsworth, even though they weren't, and that was very nice of Charlie to say that, so we appreciate those words, and we enjoyed covering him and the Rangers these past few seasons. But, just kind of looking at this game, if you were to just look at the offensive stats, and I want to give credit to the Medina Gazette for this, because if you look at the offensive stats in this one, you would think Ridgeville ran away with this game, no doubt. They ran 88 plays to Wadsworth 41.
Yep.
They had total of 370 total yards on offense to Wadsworth 151, And North Ridgeville had 22 first downs. Wadsworth only had 8.
Yeah.
So that's where you have to give credit to the Wadsworth defense. Like you mentioned, Rob, bend, don't break. Look, as we move a little forward, kind of looking ahead, Wadsworth's going to have to really pick up on the offensive end if they want to continue. Bryson Hall, he's been okay for the last few games, starting with the regular season into the playoffs. He's been okay, but he's going to have to start making some plays on the offensive end if Wadsworth wants to continue this season. Their defense is really good. Cooper Gray is an outstanding running back. Gavin Madigan, Jacob Ernest, just studs on defense. Madigan can be a stud on the offensive end, and not to mention their offensive and defensive lines. But looking at Bryson Hall as they advance to the next game, to the regional semis, looking for him to make a big step and for him to have a good game.
Well, I'll say for a freshman, man, he throws a really good ball. I mean, he connected in on a lot of decent throws. Like you said, Josh, I mean, North Ridgeville's offense, they had some long drives that sustained a lot of time off the clock. So Wadsworth didn't have a ton of time in this game, but give credit the Wadsworth offense. I mean, that's impressive. Bryson Hall, a freshman, and the way he commanded the offense and threw the ball. I thought, he has a really bright future at Wadsworth, and they have a lot of weapons, and they just, the offense didn't need to win in this game because the defense really did a great job forcing turnovers.
And that's a great point. In the playoffs, you just have to find a way to win. It doesn't matter how you do it. Just have to find a way to win. And good teams / great teams can find multiple ways to win games. If one facet's not working, the other facets will pick it up. That's just how good teams and playoff football goes.
All right, that's going to do it for Division II, Region 6. Great job, guys, all around there with between Rob, Sean, and Josh in Division II, Region 6. We have one more game of the week to get to. We'll get to that here in a minute. Let's go to Division III, Region 9. And Sean has the only team in this specific region. So Sean, why don't you take it away for Division III, Region 9?
Absolutely, thank you, Ed. And we'll start out with the number 1 seed, Youngstown Ursuline, taking care of business against Villa Angela St. Joseph, 44-8. They move on to the semifinals. Number 3, CVCA versus Chardon, a pretty close game here as CVCA gets the big win over Chardon, 19-16. Number 2 seed Gilmore Academy versus number 10 seed Maple Heights, taking care of business, as I said, against Maple Heights. Gilmore Academy with a huge 40-6 victory. In the game that concerns our show, the Aurora, the Green Men, continue their playoff campaign with a 42-14 victory over Geneva, the number 5 seed. Green Men relied completely on the running game in this game, as running backs Tommy Tardabini had 13 carries for 81 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Running back Cole Walton chipped in with 11 carries, 81 yards and a touchdown. Running back Xavier Board, 10 carries, 71 yards and a touchdown. Not to be outdone, Aurora quarterback Ryan Dwyer finished 16 of 23 with 223 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. Those touchdowns were thrown to wide receivers Dan Shanholzer and Alex Brooker. This was a fantastic performance by Aurora. The Greenmen held Geneva to 192 total yards for the game. This was a beatdown in all facets of the game, and the Aurora moves on to the semifinals. And again, they're doing it without their best player, Lucas Manderbach.
And Aurora, what a beatdown they laid on Geneva. And as you mentioned, Sean, they just keep that besides that one loss to one of the best teams in the state in Highland, Aurora has not missed a beat, and it's good to see that they've just continued that momentum in the playoffs so far.
Yeah, what's been the most interesting is the fact that, as I mentioned, they're doing it without their best player in Lucas Manderbach, not only offensively but defensively. And the way they're able to kind of run through this region right now, whoever they played, they've been up big early and they've sustained that lead. Obviously, as we talked about, it does get harder as we go into the semifinals and possibly the finals. Again, you're playing teams that are deep and that, have been there. But this was a surprising outcome to me. I was not expecting Aurora to get 2 dominant wins in the first 2 weeks. I thought maybe that first week they were playing maybe a team that eked in, but I thought this 4-5 matchup was going to be closer than really it was. And it was, I think I checked at halftime, it was, 35-7 at some point at half. So it wasn't exactly close in the first half, and it got even less close in the second half. So, congratulations, Aurora. They move on to the Division III Region 9 semifinals.
Excellent, great work. We'll talk about who they're playing and the rest of how that region is going to shape up here in a little bit. All right, let's go to Division III Region 10. I will start. Let's start with the games that actually we have a little bit of influence here too. So let's get to number 3, Benedictine. They defeat the number 6 seed Defiance 28-6. Big victory there. Sean, why don't you go through Toledo Central Catholic in Revere?
Yeah. After a big win over Copley, Revere was rewarded with a matchup against top-seeded and reigning state champion Toledo Central Catholic. Unfortunately, that's not a reward Revere wanted, as they ran into a buzzsaw called Toledo Central Catholic to the tune of 48-0. Revere was unable to get any sort of momentum offensively going, and defensively, the Minutemen gave up 42 points in the first half, an additional 7 points in the second half. That's all she wrote for the Minutemen. It was a great season for the Minutemen. They ended up finishing 7-5 overall. But again, when you talk about a team that's as experienced and as deep as Toledo Central Catholic and is the reigning state champions, not only this division but other divisions as well, you got to play almost perfectly, and even then you got to have a lot of luck on their side. Unfortunately, Revere didn't have any of that going for them, as they fall to Toledo Central Catholic, the number 1 seed, 48-0.
There you go. Hey, congratulations to Revere, Coach Nickel. Getting a first round playoff win, certainly a very good accomplishment. Revere got they play Aurora and Highland every year, so they have a pretty good idea what a really good team looks like, and that just got confirmed very efficiently against a stud team like Toledo Central Catholic. All right, let's go to Rocky River, the co-runners up of the Cleveland West Conference. They hosted number 12 Lexington, and for this one, Rocky River and Lexington, they were knotted up at 13. Junior quarterback Ryan Taylor accounted for a touchdown with senior Josh Mammers. Stephen Kane, former player of the week for the Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance Player of the Week, he had 2 field goals. It was 13-13 at the half between the Pirates and the Minutemen. The Pirates got another touchdown by Taylor. They forced a turnover, took a 26-13 lead. Lexington had no problems coming back. They scored 2 more touchdowns to get a 27-26 lead. Stephen Kane connected on his 3rd field goal of the game to the Pirates a 29-27 lead, and that was it for the Pirates. Lexington comes from behind. They win 49-29 over Rocky River. Minuteman quarterback Joe Cowdell, he accounted for 7 touchdowns in this game, and that is just they hit the Minutemen they hit the Pirates, and the Pirates just couldn't respond, and Lexington gets the win 49-29. Our last SOT featured game of the week. Noah was at this game, and this was a phenomenal game between Padua and Buckeye. It's the second time in 3 years these 2 teams have played in the playoffs. Unfortunately for Buckeye, the result was the same because unfortunately they had to play Roderick Love a second time. But quite honestly, and Noah, we'll talk about this. Roderick Love did his damage, but their quarterback was on another level this game. Noah, why don't you take this one away?
All right. Well, thank you, Ed. Yeah, and always great being back out at Buckeye for the 3rd time this year out on that grass field. But it wasn't a great start for Buckeye, as Padua would have a kickoff return down into Buckeye territory, and that would set up Roderick Love in a Wildcat formation to get a touchdown 20 seconds into the game and that. And then Buckeye would drive right down the field after making a fourth down stop on Padua. But Ryan Wilhelm, for a touchdown, tied the game up at 7-7. And then Nick Barker got a touchdown pass to Riley Cervenka to give Padua a 13-7 lead. And then Ryan Wilhelm would get a second touchdown of the game to give the Bucks a 14-13 lead. And then you don't see many offensive linemen score a touchdown coming into the playoffs or even the regular season, as Nick Barker threw a touchdown pass to Brandon Havadi to give the Bruins a 20-14 lead going into halftime. And then a Buckeyes opening drive, Turner Delata made a great wide open pass to Trey Whitmire for a touchdown to give the Bucks a 21-20 lead. And that would set up Troy McCann for a touchdown to give the Bucks a 28-20 lead. And then Nick Barker threw a screen pass to Roderick Love, who was hurt for a couple of plays, but then came back for a receiving touchdown for 52 yards to cut the gap to 28-27. What a fourth quarter the last 4 minutes it was, guys. It kind of felt like Wadsworth Odonia in this game. Nick Barker threw a touchdown pass to Brady DeVore with 3:57 left to go to give the Bruins a 33-28 lead. And for Buckeye, it would set out Troy McCann with a ground-crushing run that would get it right down to Padua's 2-yard line. And that would set up Ryan Wilhelm with his third touchdown of the game to give the Bucks a 34-33 lead with 2:17 left to go. And then on Padua's possession, I can almost hear, I've never heard Buckeye Stadium as loud as it was on that Padua drive. But the crowd was even more silent when Nick Barker threw a fifth touchdown pass to Christian Rodrigo, for a touchdown with 22 seconds left in the game to give Padua a 39-34 victory on the road to defeat the number 2 seeded Buckeye Bucks. This was one of the best games by far in our coverage this week, and I was happy and a pleasure to able to cover this game. By far, like I said, it was one of the best games of our coverage area this weekend.
No doubt, Noah. You got a good game there, and Nick Barker had thrown. This is a stat in the Medina County Gazette. All year, he threw 3 touchdowns. 3. He threw 4. He's thrown 7 touchdowns in 2 playoff games. 10 touchdowns total over the course of 12 games. All right, Buck, you sit back for a minute.
That looks pretty cool. Roderick loves showing him some love with the stuffed animal in there.
Goodness gracious. Yeah, Roderick Love.
He's a beast, man. That guy.
I've talked about him for years. Like, he's not even in our conference.
I know.
We've been talking about him because he's been playing Holy Name, Padua, obviously, or Buckeye, obviously. He's another breed. I believe he's got to be the school's all-time leading rusher. And unfortunately for Buckeye, it's just I can't think of too many other schools that have come excruciatingly close to winning games in the playoffs like Buckeye has.
I'd love to see how many missed tackles Roderick Loves have. I hope they keep that stat, because I mean, when I saw him versus Midview, this guy just makes everybody miss. He's so quick and shifty, and looking at the highlights, and go to Sports on Tap's YouTube page, but man, he made a lot of guys miss in that game, and he just makes plays, and you got to really contain him. If you don't contain him, they're a tough team to beat.
Yeah, definitely. And he kind of reminded me of Troy McCann, kind of running the ball like a ground pound running game. And that's how Roderick Love really performed in this game against Buckeye. And this was the second time he's faced Buckeye in 2 years, because he remembers how this defense played against him in that playoff game 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was a really impressive display, and we were following that game via our group text, and it was an interesting follow towards the end there, because it just got insane, and at that point I was done with the Avon game, and Rob was done with the North Original game, and we're sitting there like, man, Noah's still out there doing this thing, but definitely something to talk about. But again, if you want to see those highlights, go to our YouTube page and take a look at those. We'll move on now to, well, we lost Ed. We don't know where Ed is, and we're gonna have to move on He said he'll be back on in a minute, so
Well,
we'll go ahead and move on and go over the.
Well, go ahead.
I was going to say I could go over the Division 3 region or Division 4 region 14 other games until we get Ed back on. Obviously, we look at a team like Sandusky Perkins, the number 1 seed, just all over Vermilion, 48-7. Ontario gets a 38-7 victory over Clyde, and Shelby. Again, another close game in the quarterfinals here. 26-14 for Shelby. Now that sets up some very interesting matchups. Obviously, we'll get to the Bay Village breakdown there. Not great for Bay Village, but Ed has the highlights and stats and things of that nature for that game. But you look at this particular division, guys, and you look at that team, that Sandusky Perkins team, and who's in this league, who's in this division right now or this region that really could beat them, because we've seen Sandusky Perkins a couple of times this year, and they have just, they are making statements when they play football, and some good, some bad, but you can't argue the results. I think they're undefeated. They come in as the number 1 seed, the odds-on favorite to definitely represent this region in the state Final Four. And then we'll go from, we'll see what happens from there. Obviously, you take a look at the scoreboard here. Bay Village ran into really an upstart Napoleon team who got a big victory last week. Shocking victory, and then comes in and takes on the number 5 seed in Bay Village and blanks them. Again, Ed will likely come on and talk about this game here when we talk about Bay Village and Napoleon locking horns in a quarterfinal matchup. Ed, what do you got for us on Bay Village versus Napoleon?
Not your turn anymore.
No, it's my turn now. Quite honestly, not a whole lot in this game. Bay, they got shut down. We talked with Rocker Red Ontario. They knew what they were getting. They knew what they were going up against a Napoleon team, which by seed is the 13 seed, but they are obviously not playing like it. Napoleon goes into Bay and just laid the hammer down, 28-0. Napoleon gets the win over Bay Village. Not a whole lot of stats on this game from what I could find, and unfortunately for Bay, Michael Farrow, I believe Charlie Rogers is a senior as well. They're moving on. Rocco Hereditario, he does come back. He'll have a senior year to look forward to, and we'll see if Bay, Bay can continue on what they've done so far. They've won a playoff game this year. They got to host 2 playoff games, and with how the playoffs are set up, and there's certainly that's certainly no small feat. So congratulations to Bay on a great season. As Napoleon defeats them 28-0. Bay finishes their season at 7-5. All right, we are gonna. I believe we are joined by. Yeah. Well, let's just keep rolling. My computer, as I called it, definitely took a crap on me. I am back. So this computer not as reliable. It's very reliable. Our first guest on tonight's show. We are joined by Avon, All-Ohio quarterback and a 2024 All-District Offensive Player of the Year for Division II in the Northeast Lakes District. Nolan Good from the Avon Eagles joins us tonight. Nolan, thanks for taking the time to join us.
Of course. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Hey, Nolan, I know you got a big game coming up here, but let's talk quickly about the playoff run so far. Obviously, the first round game, you guys had your way there. The game against Olmsted Falls, what a game that was. We had a presence there, and the game started. The game started probably not the way you guys had envisioned it, but you guys certainly finished it the way that we are used to seeing Avon finish games. Talk about that game, not the ebbs and the flows. The game against against Olmsted Falls, sorry.
Right. Olmsted Falls, conference rival, tough team. Their offense is just every single week. You got a challenge going up against an offense like that. It's really tough to stop, and they got some of the best coaches around, and as well as some of the best players on that team. So you can't take any team in the SWC lightly, and especially in the playoffs in Division II, you can't take any team lightly. And that's not to say we took them lightly. I just think, they came out and they smacked us in the mouth first play, Simple as that. And I think they woke us up a little bit. And I'm glad that it was like that. I'm thankful that, we came out with the win, but honestly, for our team, I'm glad that, we had somebody come and, punch us in the face a little bit, push us around, because quite frankly, the last, couple of weeks have been blowouts. And we know that in the playoffs, in order to get to the goals that we want to accomplish, it's not going to be like that. It's not going to be easy. And we want it that way. We want it to be difficult. And I'm just glad it was like that.
Yeah, Nolan, I was actually at that game last week, and it was impressive to see. It was really interesting. Like you said, Homestead Falls came in and really kind of challenged you as a quarterback. And I think your first score ended up, you and Matt Maxey, your favorite target, decided to just flip the script, and he throws a pass to you. I want to talk a little bit about your connection with Matt, who had a great game himself. And as I mentioned in my breakdown, I think you guys had the exact same number of touchdowns, just reversed, which is really kind of a cool stat.
Yeah.
What's it been? What's the one thing that you look at with Matt and really all your receivers is it seems like you trust them a lot to get open and catch that ball, no matter kind of how bad of a night you're having. Was that kind of what you guys talked about in that first quarter when things weren't going right?
Yeah, I mean, I think offensively the struggles were really just us. And I don't know, it was 2 possessions, I think. And, it's like I was saying, we're not used to, having to punt. We usually finish every single possession with a touchdown, 7 on the board. But, so that was different for us. And we're getting better at dealing with the uncomfortable. We want to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations. And teams that are the most comfortable in situations like that are the teams that will ultimately come out on top. But going back to your question with my connection with Matt and all my receivers, it really is it's something special. He's my best friend, one of my best friends off the field. We talk to each other constantly about what each of us are seeing, what we feel can benefit both of us. As far as I want to get the ball in his hands as much as possible, as quickly as possible, so that he can do what he does and everybody, get the ball out into their hands.
Nolan, not only did your wide receiver, Matt Maxey, have a great game, your 2 running backs had a pretty good game against Homestead Falls. Quante and Cam, they combined for 407 rushing yards, and Cam had a couple touchdowns in that game. Just kind of talk about how important it is to really have 2 running backs that really combined for 407 yards against Homestead Falls. And it really keeps you not only just really passing the ball, but it really helps the running game get going for you guys. How important has that been for you guys in that game?
For sure. I mean, our starting running back, Tyler Kaufman, who's been a stud for 2 years now, has kind of had to lean more on the defensive side due to some injuries that we've been dealing with over there. He's been playing a lot of safety, and he just made the all-district team, second team all-district for, being an athlete, because he can be put at receiver, running back, safety, corner, linebacker, punt returner. We got guys like that all over our roster who, you can just put them anywhere and they're going to make plays. So, but that running back room is special. We got 3 guys who are really 4, but 3 of them that played they're all varsity level guys. And to have one guy go and play defense, and then Keontae and Cam come come into the light and make plays like they did, it's just special. It's just everything that you could really ask for as far as being a 50-50 offense, is in terms of throwing the ball 50%, running the ball 50%. We want to keep it that way. We want to be dynamic in both aspects of that game, so that if a team's going to come in and game plan against the pass, we can run the ball, and vice versa. If they're going to game plan against the run, we can pass the ball, and it just makes us dangerous, really.
Nolan, I'm curious about the culture. I mean, we all know the success of Avon. I think you guys have won 9 straight conference championships and multiple playoff victories. But as the quarterback for this program, talk about the culture that is there, and then talk about, as the quarterback, some of the things that you have to do maybe a little above and beyond to keep up that culture, keep that culture going, or maybe even add to it.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Elder has just done something so special with the Avon football program. He's 101. You can't, as a football athlete, just all around, no matter what sport you're playing, you can't ask for a better coach than Coach Elder. He does everything the right way, does whatever he can, puts players in the best position to succeed beyond high school, beyond football, in life as a whole. But he really allows it to be a senior-led team. It's all about the seniors. The seniors are gonna, pave the way for the following years, and when these juniors are seniors next year and sophomores are juniors now, and it's our job as seniors and as captains of the team to really lead by example, on and off the field, and just teach that culture to the younger guys, and that's what our coaching staff does such a great job of. Is obviously they teach and they coach, but they leave it up to us as players to hand the reins down to the juniors, and the juniors hand the reins down to the sophomores, and all the way down the list. Every year guys cycle in and out, and I just think that Avon as a program, just it's really special how we just every single year players come in, we teach them the ways, and get them right so that by the time they're seniors, they're winning when it matters.
Yeah, and I think you did a great job just explaining everything, because, I mean, the depth that you guys have, and I thought you did a great job, even though, you might not have thought you had the best game against Olmsted Falls. I think your leadership really came to the front. Maybe you're not having the best game, but you can do and impact the game other ways. And you saw that versus Olmsted Falls, and Avon's always had depth, and I think that's where you guys are really dangerous. If you're not passing the ball well, I mean, you have Matt Maxey all of a sudden passing the ball. You have, multiple running backs running the ball and are successful. Talk a little bit about the offensive line, and obviously you can give credit to your defense, because your defense has continually held teams. Obviously, 100%. This last week they gave up a little bit of points, but they kept you in games. But the offensive line, I thought, did a great job, whether it's pass blocking or run blocking. They've really had a great year for you guys.
Yeah, they take pride in that kind of stuff. I really think it starts with our center, Connor Bingham. He's been a 3-year starter. He's been doing it on the offensive side longer than anybody. He's the heart and soul of that front five. And then, you got Jeremiah Kelly, power 4 commit, who's going to go play at Cincinnati. And then you got an all-state wrestler in Ian Englehart. And then you got Addison Hanna and Max Hauk, who is a junior who's getting looked at by a bunch of colleges right now. And, they're a prideful group. They take pride in what they do. They work harder than anybody on the team. They communicate better than anybody on the team, as you want offensive line to do. But, yeah, I mean, going back to last week, Falls defense, you got to give them credit. The way that they set up, they weren't going to let us throw the ball over their heads the entire game. They were going to, make us beat them on the ground. And it's just really a credit to our coaches and the game plan and the way that they're able to just, give us the best path to victory every single week, week in and week out. Even if it's not going our way at the start, flip the script and figure a way for us to, win ultimately. But yeah, we got guys all over who can do so many things other than just their positions. Like you said, Matt can throw the ball. We got different guys who can run, different guys who can catch. Our defense is special this year. Last year was super, super special, but this year I think we had a bunch of returning guys, and they just take pride. Everyone takes pride on this team and what they do.
Hey, we're talking with senior quarterback from Avon, Nolan Good. Nolan, last year, and then the playoff run, I mean, I think you missed most of it, if I'm not mistaken. And so this year, your senior year, your participation in the playoffs, just, how is it preparing for playoff games and just in leading this team and hoping to take them to where you want them to be?
Right. It's the most fun I've ever had. I mean, I really do feel like I missed out a little bit last year. I think our team last year was super, super special. But last year's in the past. There's nothing I can do about that now. It's now or never, really. It's senior year. I don't get another shot at this. I'm willing to do whatever it takes, and that's how it is for all of our seniors, top down. We're willing to do whatever it takes to get to that last game, and I really am confident this year. We have so many returning guys, and then those guys who are new this year have really stepped up and, played their part in, allowing us to win. But yeah, it's fun. It's so much fun. I didn't get to play week 1 last year. I had a concussion, got concussed week 10, and then I played week 12 against Brecksville, and then week 13 was the collarbone injury against Olmsted Falls, and I'm obviously hoping that I stay healthy just as I do with everybody else on my team, and I think this year, for me, it's been maybe being a little bit smarter with my bodies, not necessarily taking as many hits. I don't think I ran the ball as much. And when I did run the ball, I was a little bit smarter. I think I stepped out of bounds a few more times than I did last year. Instead of, fighting for that extra yard and a half, maybe I fell down rather than getting stood up and hit by everybody on the team. I think it's part of the game. With best ability is availability, and I just want to be available for my guys.
And you guys got a tough battle coming up here against the number 5 seed Wadsworth Grizzlies, the champions of the co-champions of the Suburban League National Conference. That game will be played this Friday night at Stronsville at Pat Catan Stadium in Stronsville, Ohio. Nolan, thanks for taking the time to join us tonight. Good luck to you, Coach Elder, and the rest of the Eagles against a very tough Wadsworth team. Battle of a couple of Mount Union guys, Coach Elder and Coach Todd, and this is I'll tell you what, even from us being as bystanders, we're looking forward to this game. So good luck to you. Good luck to you this week.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming on, Nolan. Great talking with you.
Sure. Thank you guys again for having me.
Of course.
Thank you, Nolan.
Yep.
That is senior quarterback Nolan Good. He got first team All-Ohio quarterback as a junior last year, and he is the 2024 All-District Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year in the Northeast Lakes District for Division II. So he's certainly in line for a potential first team All-Ohio, repeat All-Ohio performance as well. Just, you can't say enough about Nolan, the rest, Matt, the rest of the team that they have going on. That the culture is phenomenal. If Ben's on, just put him through.
Yeah, he just got on, so I'll let him through. Here we go.
Okay, so yeah, so you can't say enough about Avon, and I think we've run out of superlatives to talk about the Avon Eagles, and and Nolan Good embodies everything it is to be an Avon Eagle. All right, with that, let's shift over to Division II, Region 5, the Suburban League National Conference, the Natty, as Josh likes to refer to them. And we are joined by Nordonia quarterback Ben Chesser. Ben, thanks for taking the time to join us tonight. I know you got a pretty big game to prepare for this week, but we appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your night.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me on here. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Ben. So last week, a pretty good win over a very tough Green team from the Federal League. Those Federal League teams are certainly no joke. But you guys were able to take care of them pretty efficiently from what the score said. But talk about that game. Talk about the playoffs so far. What are some of the things that Green did that were successful, and how were you guys able to overcome that?
I thought Green made some plays with their secondary. Some of our contested catches, they were making plays. So we just had to find a way to go around that. But throughout the game, we ran the ball pretty well. Our running backs and our O-line did a great job. So through the course of the game, we just kept doing that, and it seemed to work. There was some times where we made mistakes, but we just kept going.
Yeah, Ben, and again, thank you for taking the time. I know this is a big time of the year for every player that's still in it. But what I want to ask is, I've been following, your guys' season kind of from afar. I haven't gotten to see you guys in person. Mainly Josh handles the national division, the Natty as we call it. But I wanted to, what I've noticed is that, your versatility with this team. And it seems to me that, whatever your team needs you to put on the display, whether it's rushing the ball, whether it's throwing the ball, or the leadership, you've been able to kind of step up and answer that bell. What's been some of the things you rely on to be able to kind of make that quick change, so to speak, this season? Has it been, the coaches asking for it, or is that something that you kind of identified that, hey, I'm not having it tonight passing the ball, but I can sure as hell run it, as best as possible?
I think a big thing we talk about is just having poise. So I would say just having poise throughout the game and understanding how the game's going, how it's flowing, and understanding what we're doing well and what we need to improve on during the game. So I would say that just allows me to be more versatile, I guess, just have a better understanding of how the game's playing.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely, Ben. And it really helps when you have Rocco and Kylan have a performance like they did Friday night against Green. I mean, they combined for 256 yards and 3 touchdowns. Just had to talk about how awesome it is to have just a type of performance like your two running backs had on Friday night, and how it helps you really just to really control the game, not passing the ball as much it is as you guys having an explosive offense like you did Friday night against Green.
I think it's great. We got Rocco and Kylan. We also have Liam Kuntz, who's a great rusher too, and it's just great to be able to rely on that in any scenario during the game. Like I said before, the O-line's playing great, so it's nice to have.
Yeah, Ben, speaking of that offensive line, I call you guys a high-tempo run team, even though you guys can pass. Danny ours is a great receiver that you have. But I want to talk about your offensive line. How are they able to just maintain? You guys are constantly no huddle, just going down the field, marching down. How are they able to maintain? And I've been at 3 of your games this year, and it almost seems like they get stronger as the game goes on. And this game was no different. Your defense came in and played really good in that second half against Green, but your offensive line really dominated as well. Almost, Green was almost too tired to actually play defense, it seemed like.
Yeah, sometimes we just get into our fast tempo, and it just kind of throws them off. They're playing great, but it's just important that we're all communicating when we're doing that, and that's something we practice all the time. That's kind of like a staple of our offense. It's just fast tempo sometimes. So I would say just communicating as fast as we can, because we know we're going to go fast and play fast. So communication is probably the biggest thing there.
Yeah, and speaking of communication, Coach Fox, what's it like to play for a coach like Coach Fox? Because I think he's done a great job with your program. You guys have consistently been good, and each year, he puts you guys in really good situations, whether it's offense or defense. What's it like playing for Coach Fox? Because I know he's a very easygoing guy. He's animated. He has fun on the sidelines, and I know he really talks highly of you guys.
Yeah, he loves football. He just wants us to do the best we can. He puts us in the scenarios to do our best. He helps us prepare during the week, obviously, and puts us in the best scenario we can. So it's great, I'd say.
We're talking with Nordonia quarterback Ben Chesser. Hey Ben, you're being a quarterback at Nordonia, you've had some really good quarterbacks over the years, the Levac brothers. Probably more recently. How is it, growing up and watching, either watching Nordonia play and seeing what kind of we talk about culture a lot and good programs. Coming up through the youth program and your guys' participation in the youth program as football players, how important is that to engage the youth and get them excited about playing football for Nordonia?
I think it's important. I remember watching the games when I was younger, and I always thought it was really cool. I remember the guys that played the position before me, so I think it's really cool. I think the program's doing the same thing with the future, I would say, future players. So I think it's cool.
Who are some of the juniors and sophomores that have stepped up to help the seniors out this year when it comes to making your season as successful as it has been so far?
I would start with sophomores. I would say a few would be on the O line, Luke Williams, defense, Carson Fisher, Colin Atha, last couple games making some plays. Junior Sam Collins. Offensive line too, Gavin Canary is playing great, and I don't know, just all the guys. We mix well, so I think it's just great to have.
Yeah, when you're able to mix your seniors, when you're able to mix the underclassmen with the seniors, it certainly gives you the depth that you guys need, and obviously gives them a little bit more exposure, and helping them in their future years as well. We'll get you out of here. Obviously, you guys you're taking on Archbishop Hoban. Everyone knows who Hoban is. without giving too much away. I say that as a compliment to them, but you guys have had a stellar season so far. Without giving anything away, we certainly don't want to do that. What are some things that you've noticed that Hoban does well that you guys need to prepare for?
I think they play physical. They're definitely physical up front, and in the secondary they got some athletes. So we're prepared for that throughout the week, and we will. So for defense, I would say that's story. Offensively, they like to run the ball, so they're physical, and I think that's just what we gotta prepare for all week.
Excellent. Well, Ben, thanks for taking the time to join us tonight. Good luck to you, the Knights against Archbishop Hoban. It is going to be a heck of a game at Rudy Sharkey Stadium in Barberton, Ohio, this Friday night at 7 p.m. Ben, thanks again, and good luck.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
That is senior quarterback from the Nordonia Knights, Ben Chesser, joining us. The Knights are going to win the game on Friday night. I think we can guarantee that.
All right, let's go.
All I'll say is that to be a quarterback for a playoff team, the two guys that we had on tonight were calm, cool, and collective.
Yep.
There's a little bit of different styles. You can say Nolan is real into it. He's getting there. Ben, I've been to a few games with him. The dude is focused. That dude knows what he's got to do. And I'm looking forward. Another spoiler here. I'll be at that game on Friday. I'm going to stick with the Natty, keep covering. But I'm really looking forward to it. I think Nordonia has the ability to surprise a lot of people that haven't seen them play with their physical style running game. And I'm telling you that higher tempo really causes problems for teams late in the fourth quarter. You have to have a lot of depth if you're going to be able to handle it. And they've just done a really good job all year of really establishing that and keeping it going all game.
I can't wait to see this game. This game is going to be fantastic. So make sure you're following us on Twitter/X at SOT Podcast to get the live updates from Archbishop Hoban versus Nordonia. Those live updates are coming from Josh on our X.
You know it.
All right, let's get to it for Division I, Region 1. Let's go to the semifinal matchups here. We do have the number 1 seed, Mentor, taking on Kenton McKinley. I believe that game is being played in. Is that one in Ravenna? Let me see where that one's at. That one is
Medina.
at Medina. That's at Ken Duke Stadium in Medina. Noah, what do you Noah? I think you have something about this game. What do you?
Spoiler alert.
We're gonna be at this week, Noah.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm really excited about this matchup because these are two old school teams going at it once again in the playoffs. I mean, McKinley, they haven't beaten Mentor since 1997. They have a chance to really spoil against the Mentor Cardinals. But for Mentor, I think it's going to really come down to really control the game for Scotty Fox and that offense going up against the Federal League champion Cam McKinley Bulldogs. And for Cam McKinley, I think it really comes down to how they stop that Mentor defense. I mean, the defense, they give up no points against Strongsville this week. And let's see if they can do the same thing against Cam McKinley. And let's hope that Scotty Fox and that offense can just really control the game against the Bulldogs in this defense. So I'm really excited about this matchup, Mentor versus Cam McKinley and Medina. We'll be looking forward to it coming up Friday night.
We'll see if Mentor can continue their defensive dominance in the playoffs specifically. They've been phenomenal in the playoffs, and we'll see if they're able to hold down McKinley. McKinley's been very good in their first two games against Normandy and Jackson. And then the other game, this game's going to be played in Elyria at Ely Stadium. It will be the reigning defending state champion St. Edward Eagles taking on Perrysburg, a 7-3 matchup. And I've been pretty honest about this one. I'm gonna pick St. Ed's to win until someone beats them. I may change my mind next week depending on how it shakes out. But Perrysburg is up against a monster. I think they know that. We'll see what they can do against St. Ed's. All right, Division II, Region 5. As Josh mentioned earlier, we will see Walsh Jesuit taking on Austin-Town Fitch. We have all chalk right here. This would be a 1 versus 4 seed. That game's going to be played in Ravenna at Harry Gilchrist Field in Ravenna. And then the other game is Archbishop Hoban versus Nordonia. We went over that pretty efficiently there. That game will be played at Rudy Sharkey Stadium in Barberton, Ohio. Division 2, Region 6, and we have a couple of fantastic games here. The number 2 seed, the Highland Hornets, they're going to take their historically great offense and defense to a neutral site. They will be taking on White House Anthony Wayne. This game will be played in Bellevue, Ohio, at First National Bank Field at Bellevue Athletic Facility Friday night. And then we have Avon versus Wadsworth, the 1 versus the 5. I have a feeling that one of us is going to this game too. Who is it?
Yes, it will be me going to Strongsville, Ohio to see. Well, I had a chance to see Wadsworth up close and personal last week against North Ridgeville, and I think this is going to be a great game. You know, both teams very physical at the line of scrimmage, like last week, and it came to fruition. Let's see what happens this week. Avon's a different beast, but I think this could be a really good game.
Josh, what are your thoughts from the Wadsworth side?
Oh, I definitely agree. It has an opportunity to be a great game. Like I mentioned earlier, though, I'd like to see Bryson Hall make some plays and really have a coming out party here in the playoffs. Now, with that defense and that running game, he might not have to, but I think in order to beat a team like Avon, he's going to have to make some plays in this game. I know is it a lot to ask for a freshman to come in there on the varsity level to play one of the top teams in the state year in and year out? Yes, I understand that. But when you get to this level, players make plays, and they got to make plays. So I'll be looking forward to that. But I'm sure the defense for Wadsworth will continue to show up and show out, and as well as Cooper Gray on the running game.
I think Avon's they face a unique challenge here with Wadsworth in that Wadsworth is a borderline Division I team. You know, they bounce back and forth between 1 and 2, it seems. So from a depth side of things, Wadsworth has it. Which, you know, not a whole lot of opponents that Avon play have as much depth as they do, but Wadsworth can match them as far as depth is concerned. So I think that's a unique thing that maybe even though Olmsted Falls plays Avon really tough every single year. Olmsted or Wadsworth has the numbers just like Avon does,
and they have a good defense too. I mean, defensively against Ridgeville, I mean they force turnovers. That's one thing Avon cannot do. Otherwise, you know, if they get in a low-scoring battle, I feel like it's in Wadsworth's favor because defensively they got the job done. I mean, and Avon's going to have to convert offensively some touchdowns or get some points. Otherwise, Wadsworth it'll be their kind of game.
And then the other one, Sean, quickly, Highland, White House, Anthony Wayne. Anthony Wayne's very good. I'm not sure if they've seen a team that's on as much of a roll as Highland is at the moment, though.
Yeah, I mean, Highland's doing historic things. We talked about, you know, what I look for in this matchup. Excuse me, is how Anthony Wayne is going to contain or attempt to contain Casey Miser, but also how they respond. Because obviously anybody who watches the film knows that if you stop Casey Miser, you then make, you know, then you could do some business. Problem is that we've seen you put a full force effort to try and stop the running game of Highland, and Dylan Borla makes you pay in the air because he can do it. But again, I would also point out that Casey Miser is not the only running back that Highland has. They can beat you with other running backs. So Highland is as well poised to win this game and force a pretty good showdown here in the finals. But again, we've seen this from Highland before. They get to this point and they get snake bit. They run into a team that they're not as familiar with. White House Anthony Wayne may be a team like that they're not as familiar with, or that throw them something that they're not used to, something along this line. So I'm interested. I'm expecting and I'm hoping Highland can pull this one out and move on to the finals. But again, it wouldn't shock me given the track record of Highland.
All right, let's go to Division 3, Region 9. The number 2 is all chalk here too. Gilmore is going to take on CVCA. A couple private schools doing battle there. And then Aurora taking on Ursuline. That game is going to be, I think that's going to be a really, really good game. Sean, I know you briefly talked about it in your recap here, but Aurora, their only loss is to Highland, a very good Highland team, and they're going up against a very good Ursuline team.
Yeah, look, Aurora is an X factor, and I think that's causing a little bit of confusion for their opponents, because all the film they've seen up until recently has been Lucas Manderbach as a hammer on both offense and defense, and now what we're seeing is coming to fruition is they're relying on players like Walton and Xavier Board and Ryan Dwyer and other players that maybe didn't have to carry the load, or maybe the script just didn't call for it. And now it creates a little bit of matchup. So can Youngstown Ursuline contain that? But I think it's going to take that effort from Aurora. They're going to have to continue to play at the level they've been playing, not just offensively, but in particular defensively, because Youngstown Ursuline can put up points and put up points quickly.
And that game will be that game's going to be played at North Canton and North Canton Hoover. Gilmore and CVCA will be played at Twinsburg. All right, Division 3, Region 10. Unfortunately, we have no stake in this game anymore. But nonetheless, we will take a look at them. Toledo Central Catholic taking on Lexington. Lexington's had a hell of a run up to this point. So anything's possible. But they are going to take on an absolute buzzsaw with Toledo Central Catholic, the reigning defending champions there. And then Padua. This is going to be a great game. Padua versus Benedictine. We're kind of I've mentioned this over the course of the year. Benedictine is in kind of destiny mode right now. It is a year that ends in the number 4, and the last 2 times that's happened, they've won the state championship in 2004 and 2014. And they have a very, very well positioned squad to do that here. Toledo Central Catholic will take on Lexington. That game we played in Tiffin. It's a 1-12 matchup. Say what you will about the expanded playoffs, but in Division 3. In Division 4 in some of these regions, those lower teams have certainly proven that they belonged in the playoffs because they've done it on the field. And then Padua, the number 7 seed, they're going to take on Benedictine. This game is in North Royalton. So that's going to be a very, very good game between a couple parochial schools in North Royalton. Last and certainly not least, Division 4, Region 14. Fortunately, Bay got knocked out here by number 13 seed Napoleon. Sandusky Perkins is the reward for Napoleon. This game will be played in Millbury at Lake Community Stadium in Millbury. And then Shelby will take on Ontario. This game will be played at Arlen Field in Mansfield, Ohio. That's a 2 versus 3 matchup there. I feel bad about this one. Because I meant to have Sean bring this up last week about his Vandalia Butler Aviators, and I saw the score what happened this week, but I more or less wanted to celebrate the previous week. So let's give Sean a few minutes of the floor to talk about the Aviators, since we did not give him that time last week.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. I appreciate that. Yeah, my Vandalia Butler Aviators were successful in week 1 against a very, very good Lima team. In fact, number 5 in the nation in scoring, Lima held them to 0 points. And, in that situation, I got to give my hats off to not only the defense, but the coaching staff. And Coach Geith at Vandalia Butler was a guy I played with a couple years younger than me. Probably it's still in better shape than I'll ever be. But Coach Geith has had that team back to where we're used to. Unfortunately, this week they ended up running into a very, very good team in Cincinnati Anderson. Did not end well for the Aviators, but congratulations, 2 back-to-back seasons, 2 playoff seasons on a coach who, I know personally is probably one of the best football guys you'll ever talk to, and one of the nicest guys you'll ever talk to as well. And Coach Geith, and congratulations to my Aviators, specifically those seniors. Who went through the doldrums when things were not great freshman and sophomore year. Now they're back. They got some wins and they got some playoff exposure. I look for big things to happen with Vandalia Butler in the next few years going forward. It can only happen. But I appreciate the opportunity to shout out my boys in Vandalia for, again, that huge win over Lima. Again, Lima coming in number 5 in the nation in scoring, and to hold that team to 0 points, that's a hell of a defensive effort on any stage, division, or region.
Absolutely. And Sean, maybe we'll get the Aviators on to give us a preview before the season, and maybe try to get Coach on. Let's have Coach on. We could talk a little Sean Duffy football when he played at Vandalia.
There ain't much to talk about. Like, I got news for you. There ain't much to talk about, but yeah, he's a great coach. He was a big hitter in high school when I played with him, and just the fact that he's got this program back to where when I left it was, and we've gone through some coaches, and it's fun to follow for me being up here and we're talking football. But yeah, it's been a good run for them. It's just unfortunate that second year in a row they've lost in the quarterfinals. But again, that's a tough division down there in Division II, Region 8. I mean, that's you get your first round. You could be playing a team like Lima, who's putting up all kinds of points, and turn around, put up a team like Anderson, who can put up points and stop you from putting up points. So tough loss there. But yeah, we could definitely try and get him on. Maybe he'll get on for one of those spotlight interviews, or one of those beautiful summer interviews that we do.
Love to hear it. One more shout out before we end business here. Patriot, the team I've been kind of shouting out from Northern Virginia. They will start their playoff run this week against Gainesville. It's a 5 versus 4 matchup. Patriot lost their last couple games to Garf, Dashfield, and then Battlefield. So Battlefield's a very good team in their region. So their regional playoffs start this week, 5-4 matchup. Good luck to Patriots there. And
I would like to do some shout outs too,
please.
if you guys don't mind. I would first like to give a shout out to not only all the football players, but all the student athletes who won postseason awards, all conference, all district, whatever awards you won. Congratulations to that. Also want to give a shout out to us, our hockey coverage. We're getting going on that. So as a reminder to all of you out there, we are the official media partner of the Greater Cleveland High School Hockey League. So look out very shortly here within the next few days or in the next week or so for our hockey night in Northeast Ohio broadcast. We'll start to get those going. And last but certainly not least, I know I speak for all of us when I say happy Veterans Day to everyone out there. Thank you to all the veterans who served. Shout out to my father and my father-in-law, who are both veterans of the Vietnam War, along with everyone else who took that oath to serve. We appreciate that very much.
100%.
Very good. So next week we will this week we will have Nordonia versus Hoban. Josh is going to that game in Barberton, Division II Region 5 semifinal. Noah is going to be at Division I Region 1 semifinal between number 1 Mentor and number 5 Kenton McKinley. That game is going to be played in Medina. Rob is going to be at number 1 Avon against number 5 Wadsworth. Division II Region 6 from Strongsville.
I think Josh's muscles might have just popped out of the shirt there. That's crazy.
Oh, I'm pumped.
You get your new shirt.
All right, that is going to do it for tonight's show. We want to thank Avon's quarterback Nolan Good and Nordonia quarterback Ben Chesser for taking the time to join us tonight. And we want to thank you for watching us and listening to us. This is the regional quarterfinal episode of the Sports on Tap High School Football Recap Show presented by Raymond Felton State Farm Insurance. Make sure you stick around for a word from all of our sponsors. For Rob Troutman, Sean Duffy, Noah Jacobson, and Josh Jeffy. Again, as Josh said, thank you to all of our veterans out there.
Yep.
My name is Ed Dick. This is Sports on Tap. We'll see you on the other side.
Other side, baby. We'll see you.
Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is on every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Watch live on YouTube and make sure to subscribe. Sports on Tap's high school football coverage is presented by Raymond Felton State Farm.
Have you compared insurance rates lately? Are you satisfied with your current insurance provider? If not, look no further than Ray Felton State Farm, a proud sponsor of Sports on Tap. For a free quote, call his office at 234-284-2996 or visit him online at rayfelton.com.
Whether you're hosting a corporate event, wedding, conference, concert, or any other special gathering, our comprehensive range of services will exceed your expectations and elevate your event to new heights. RRT Productions. We shoot, we edit, you win. Visit our website at www.rrt-productions.com.
We've got the experience, the passion, and the beach to make your event a smash hit. Whether it's a romantic wedding, a lively sports venue, or a rocking high school dance, Troutland Entertainment has you covered. Contact them at 330-414-4261 or email them at troutlandent@gmail.com. That's troutlandent@gmail.com. Elevate your brand with Mako Custom Printing. Mako Custom Printing specializes in creating high-quality spiritware, corporate apparel, and promotional products that make your brand stand out. Whether you need custom printing, graphic design, or an online store for your school or business, we've got you covered. Make a statement with Mako Custom Printing. Visit us at mako.com to start your custom printing journey today. That's MEHCO.com.